Good morning. Globally, markets and governments are watching a high-stakes U.S.-China summit in Beijing, with trade, Iran and Taiwan all on the agenda. The Financial Times and BBC report President Trump is pressing President Xi to open China further to U.S. business, while Beijing is expected to push back on technology restrictions and the status of Taiwan. The talks also carry a clear artificial intelligence and advanced chips dimension, with the Financial Times noting scrutiny around family-linked business interests pursuing China deals. The immediate material point is that any shift in export controls, procurement, or market access could quickly flow through to global tech supply chains and risk sentiment. On the global economy, the Financial Times reports U.S. cuts to grocery subsidies are biting food companies as consumer demand softens, a reminder that domestic policy settings are feeding directly into earnings and inflation dynamics. Separately, the FT argues the loss or weakening of official statistics can distort decision-making, a warning relevant to investors and governments relying on timely data in a fast-moving technological and economic environment. On global conflict and security, Australia is recommitting to maritime stability in the Middle East. SBS reports an Australian Wedgetail surveillance aircraft will return to the region as part of a multinational effort to help ships navigate the Strait of Hormuz, led by the UK and France. The operational significance is heightened given the strait's role in global energy flows and the inflation sensitivity that comes with any disruption. In other international developments, a South Carolina court has overturned Alex Murdaugh's murder convictions and ordered a new trial, according to the BBC and SMH. In the Philippines, SMH reports gunfire broke out in a Senate building amid heightened political tensions following a failed arrest attempt of a senator accused by the International Criminal Court of historical crimes against humanity. Turning to Australia, the federal budget is driving the main economic and political story, particularly housing and tax reform. ABC reports economists are divided on the likely property price impact from measures aimed at reducing intergenerational housing inequality, with some forecasting falls of up to 5%. SBS similarly reports doubts about whether the housing tax reforms will materially improve first home ownership outcomes. The Guardian adds that the centerpiece tax change would move away from the long-standing capital gains discount model toward an inflation-based approach for assets held over a year, arguing the rhetoric of fairness may not match lived reality for many younger Australians. The opposition is also sharpening its policy contrast. The Conversation reports Angus Taylor will propose tying net overseas migration to the number of new homes completed, effectively capping migration at housing delivery. That sets up a direct contest over housing supply, labour needs, and the practical capacity of the Australian public service and delivery agencies to implement and administer new settings. On public administration and local governance, SMH reports Western Australia is escalating oversight of dysfunctional local governments with inspectors, monitors and adjudicators intended to stabilise councils. In the Northern Territory, SBS reports Indigenous organisations are condemning proposed child protection law overhauls, arguing the changes could weaken principles that prioritise connection to culture and family in decision-making. That's the latest on the key material developments across AI and tech, geopolitics, the global economy, conflict-linked security risks, and Australia's budget-driven policy debate.